So I'm in a restaurant with Husband Grill, and my husband and I are eating dinner. He gets a call on his cell phone, and it's the police. Why they had his cell phone, I don't know. And they're calling to say that they've come to Chesterfield County to talk to us. And they're going to meet us in the parking lot. Longest 20 minutes ever. My husband gets out to that car very quickly. I'm moving like I'm walking through quicksand. As soon as I get into the back seat, my husband's in the front. The officer turns around and he said, I have some sad news to share. Your son Charles has been found dead this morning on Monument Avenue. The waves of grief and disbelief hit. I can't even breathe. And all of a sudden, there's this instinct of grabbing the edges of yesterday and bringing it back because I want to do it over. I know if I get to do this over, I can do better and I can prevent whatever happened. Totally illogical, but you still feel like, no, that's not my truth. We're wailing the grief of loss. My husband takes a break, says, well, how did he die? And I'm thinking, what a crazy question. How do you think he died? He was addicted to heroin, for God's sake. I didn't say that out loud, but that's what I'm thinking. And the officer turns around and he says, it was a suicide. I can't even let that phrase get in my head, and I'm watching my husband's emotional explosion in the front seat. He's banging on the glove box, on his knees, and I'm watching someone I love that I've never seen cry completely fall apart. I'm doing like this to my skin because I'm like, you know what? If I can get out of my skin, I don't have to be here in the back of this car listening to this news. I could be somewhere else. But of course, if you don't get do-overs and all that pain, you just have to figure out how to manage it. So we drove home, and the only way I made it from one moment to the next was by telling myself that it would never be as bad as that moment when I got that news. My son Charles is the funniest and most popular kid in school. Yet the funniest and most popular kid in school suffered from depression, became addicted to heroin, and killed himself 4 years ago. This moment right here was one of the few proud mama moments I had from 2010 to 2015. He's on homecoming court. It wasn't long after this picture was taken that my son's drug use started to escalate. And it started to get really, really scary. And we had to take drastic measures. And I had to kidnap my son out of his bed and have him taken to this wilderness program in Clayton, Georgia. And you don't do that because you caught your kid with fear and joy. You do that because you really need to save your child's life. Now, my husband didn't buy into the kidnapping to wilderness right at first. He's a logical guy, left-brain guy. $32,000. So the counselor said, I know it's expensive. You've been through all that we have in Richmond, Virginia, and Virginia. What are you going to do next? And he thought about it, and he said, we don't have any other option, do we? So we were together on this, but I will never forget the look of betrayal on my son's face as he was ushered out the door. It was one of the most difficult decisions we've ever had to make. We had to get together with the escort team in a hotel like some clandestine affair. We had to discuss behind my son's back how we were going to kidnap him out of his bed, and take him somewhere and deposit him here against his will, where he would have to dig a hole to go to the bathroom, and where a shower consisted of a cold sponge and a bucket of water. He didn't like that. And for 10 weeks, he refused to take any kind of sponge bath. No way was he doing that. For 3 weeks, he didn't change his clothes. He went on food strike for 2 days and refused to eat. But by the end of the 10 weeks, he did kind of come around. So what did we get out of Wilderness? Well, we did get something out of Wilderness that we did not get in Richmond, Virginia. For whatever reason, we could never get a diagnosis. I kept asking, of the 14 mental health professionals I saw in Richmond, Virginia, I kept saying, can I get a diagnosis? They were happy to prescribe pills. But give me a diagnosis, what was I asking for? They gave us a diagnosis in Wilderness, and it's called a psychological evaluation. Remember those words, psychological evaluation. So ADHD combined type, depression, which shocked me because he was always so happy, anxiety, and we already knew about the delayed sleep phase syndrome. And that's a sleep disorder where it's difficult to fall asleep at night. And then something else on that piece of paper said cannabis dependence, basically self-medicating his depression. What I didn't know is that my son was suffering from thoughts of suicide, and taking the drug seemed like the perfect answer. It was better than killing oneself, right? And I can kind of see that logic now. But I wasn't aware of that. He never said, hey, Mom, I'm depressed. He never said, I'm suicidal, because teenagers, especially male teenagers, are masters at hiding their depression. And he was very good at it. Mom, I'm not depressed. What are you talking about? He never admitted that. So it is often recommended after Wilderness for them to go to therapeutic boarding school, because they want them to apply the things they've learned in Wilderness in a setting that doesn't have a lot of drugs and alcohol, and access is difficult. So basically, you're kind of putting them on layaway, hoping they'll mature and learn to manage that mental illness and learn new coping strategies. So he ends up going to a placement in upstate New York, graduating from a boarding school in Utah. Y'all, I wasn't plan A. $70,000 a year. Wilderness was $32,000. You're like, how can you afford that? Well, we couldn't. Our home equity loan could, though. And so would a little 401k I had left from an advertising agency. All that money used up in 22 months. So in 2014, my son came home, and he was a high school graduate, and you would have thought he won the Nobel Peace Prize. We were so excited because Charles was never big on school. He didn't love school. He was smart, but he didn't like all the standardized testing, and I can't say I disagree with that. What I didn't know is that right away he went back to the coping strategies that he was using before. Because he'd been back to the state of Virginia, nothing had changed here, no new resources. People were not acknowledging mental illness as a disease, and things weren't any different, and he became jaded against that system. Why would he wait 6 months for a psychiatrist visit when the drugs he took worked instantly? So unbeknownst to me, he became addicted to heroin. You'd think I'd know that. But he didn't use needles. He snorted it. I didn't even know you could snort it. I had no idea. And now I know he was addicted for maybe 11 months, maybe even a year. I didn't know until the last 30 days of his life. So what happens is I come home one day, police are at my door. Not the first time that's ever happened. I let them in. I'm terrified because I hadn't had that great of experience with the criminal justice system in the county before. And I didn't know what they were going to do to my son. And they showed me pictures of him pawning my grandmother's silverware. And I ended up telling them that it was his silverware given to him by his grandmother, which wasn't the truth. But they laughed. And finally, I asked him, and he confessed eventually. He went to detox, he went to rehab, and he relapsed within 24 hours of going to the recovery house. They took him back to detox, and I thought, he's just had one hit. It won't be that difficult. But he saw a friend of his there. He walked out of detox. He just wanted one more party, one more hit. And on June 5th, 2015, my husband and I got the worst news of our lives. Thank God my friends were there to help with the memorial service. There are things that you do that you never think you're going to have to do. You have to sign tons of forms for the paperwork, for the body, for the ashes, for the funeral home, make church arrangements, write an obituary, at a time when you can barely put one foot in front of the other. So then I would run into people, and I would start talking about Charles. And they would change the subject. How do you like your new house? How do I like the new house? And I would try to get the conversation back to Charles, and I would be cut off again. I didn't erase Charles from my family tree when he died. And I also wasn't ashamed that he died by suicide or that he suffered from addiction. I decided then, someone needs to talk about this. And I decided that was me. But I was grief-stricken. I was terrified because I was going to put my family's ugly story out there for everyone to see. So I started writing this article for the Richmond Times-Dispatch. He died in June. I started the article in August, and it took me until December to write 1,200 words. Sometime in the middle, I opened that file around September, and boy, this was an angry manifesto. But you know what? It didn't spit at me from the page. It didn't cuss me out and say I can't write that. I wrote it over and over until I got it right. And then the newspaper called me. I turned it in December. The editor calls me in February to tell me it's published. Oh my. I froze. I had to pull over to the side of the road. I'm nearing a panic attack because now I'm really terrified. No one has read this article. No one knows I've written it other than one friend who proved it. And I'm like, did I tell my husband at all? And then I start thinking, oh my gosh, my clients are going to fire me when they read this. They're going to think I'm a terrible parent. My mind just starts going crazy. And I'm like, breathe, breathe, breathe. And I'm talking to myself. And I'm calming myself down. And I'm trying to say, this is what you want, Amos. You decided to go public, and that's what it's all about. And then I had to ask myself, what is my real fear of putting it out there? And my real fear was that I was afraid no one would ever read it. Because up until then, no one would let me talk about him. And I really thought, I buried my child. I don't want to bury his memory too. But it went viral because other people were reading their story in mine. And right before it published, I started a blog called Emotionally Naked to drag into the spotlight all those taboo topics that no one wanted to talk about. Suicide, addiction, mental illness, and grief. Who talks about that? And you're not allowed to do it. So how do you go from cute, bubbly, fun, adorable toddler to depressed, addicted, and kills himself? So what I'm going to show you is my son's last tweets. And I want you to know that the strange thing is that people do want to tell. They just don't come out and say, I'm thinking of suicide. They leave hints instead. And that's what my son did. If I died, no one would notice for at least a month. If you want to know who really cares about you, see who's there when you have nothing. Death sounds nice. And you're probably thinking, this is so obvious. Oh my gosh, I mean, he's practically telling you. Well, hundreds of people saw these tweets. I saw one of them. There's a bunch of stuff in between. And because nobody was talking about suicide, I didn't have a bucket to put it in. I mean, you've got to know it exists before you can decide that might be the issue. But I didn't know he suffered from suicide. So I thought, he's hit rock bottom. And rock bottom means he's going to ask for help. Well, rock bottom is a myth. Because when my son hit rock bottom, he killed himself. So yes, he hit rock bottom. It just has a different definition from the one I had. So when anybody talks about rock bottom, it's a myth. Don't believe it. So 9 months after his death, I wrote this article on my blog called The Final 48 Hours. And again, it was one of those where my finger kind of hovered over the publish, and I'm like, should I publish? And I talked to my husband, he goes, you want to put that one out there? And I'm like, publish. Because every time my husband says that, that's automatically, oh, this is going to be good. But I got a little squeamish, and I didn't share it on social media. And up until then, I had shared everything on social media. And what this post was about is basically how we reacted when we got the news. Play by play. Now, it doesn't give you details on the death itself, of course, because that would be a trigger and inappropriate. But basically how we felt. And then when I shared it, I wondered, why are people reading this? And why are they sharing it? And what's more, why did I write it? And then an answer came in the form of a message from a girl named Lauren. And her email said, 2 days ago I thought about taking my life. Reading a post from a mother who's felt such devastating pain has changed my perspective on life. And she reached out to her own parents and she asked for help. She's just graduated from college, and somehow I felt a part of that story. So I used to get leads online for plumbing and HVAC companies, and at that point, I just wasn't into that anymore. This was more important to me, so I sold a successful marketing business to work free, which doesn't make any sense. And then one day I was looking at my son's death certificate, and I said, you know what? I know how he made that instrument of death, because my son was not an engineer. But I'm like, how did he make that? People Google how to install a faucet. I bet they Google how to die too. Oh, yeah. So then merging my passion to prevent suicide with my marketing expertise, I then decided that I was going to show up on the first page of Google, at least on that first page, for this phrase that I think my son looked up. Now to do that, you've got to write the title exactly as you think they put those words in the search engine. Then I have to share that title in social media. And my followers are like, what are you doing? And so I had to explain, and I had to go to mental health bloggers and explain to them. And they got mad at me. I can't believe you did that. Now I'm explaining what is search engine optimization, and finally they got it. And then the New York Times did an article, and they linked to the page. So we're now number 6th or 7th in the world. 4,000 people come to that page every month. The video that's on the page, 15,000 have been there since last August. And on YouTube, that constitutes more teenagers and young adults. It took a while to figure what to put on the page. But as I got comments from people with lived experience, that's how I built the page. I used my training, I used my son's music that he left to figure out what to put there, and people with lived experience would tell me what videos were working for them. And finally, I put this video up, and we'll see if it works. Let's do this. Get a little misty. It's 57 seconds. It's right here. It's evidence that people go to that page and they click the suicide hotline. And what my biggest problem was, I didn't have a suicide hotline for India or Kazakhstan or Thailand. So then I had to put a link to all the suicide hotlines internationally in the world. I got requests from somebody that it was a great page, but I needed the Canadian one. I needed the Australian one. I needed the one from Britain. All of those I see in my statistics are regularly used. And then I get notes like this. This was my first one, and when I opened it, a waterfall of tears. Basically, this guy had 2 children. He had suffered at some point with a heroin addiction, but he had used that heroin like my son had to treat his depression at one time. And he wasn't using anymore, but he still had suicidal ideation, and he spent 8 hours on the site that night. And you actually have to scroll to the very bottom of this page to see the comments, because there are now over 200 comments. I answer every single one of them. And here are some of the comments on YouTube. Thank you. You changed my mind. I'm not going to suicide. I just wanted to say that you saved my life. Never gets old. those comments never get old. Every time I take a screenshot and I put them in my folder. And then every once in a while, I get one like this. Because people in suicidal ideation are often feeling angry because they are in pain. So suicidal thinking is an irrational moment. I call it a brain attack. It lasts typically about 20 minutes. And this is how people with lived experience have described it. So it kind of comes on, strong and strong and strong, and then it peaks. I want to kill myself right here. But then it drops off. And this is where they're more ambivalent about death. They don't want to die, they just want to stop the pain. And then it goes back up, up, up. This one's the most intense. It hurts, I want to do it, I want to do it. It drops back off. I've used my assist training over 50 times in the last 2 years. I've used it by text, I've used it by phone, I've used it by email, I've used it by commenting on YouTube, The Mighty, my site. I've used it with the telephone. It's come in handy. So knowing that people, especially teenagers, go to Google because they're not getting the information anywhere else. I've written several other articles. I wrote this one for The Mighty. So we tell people reach out. We don't tell them how to reach out other than the hotline. How does a child tell his parent he wants to die? What do you say? How do you say it? And I map out, here's what you say. And if you don't want to tell them face to face, use a message, write a letter. So one day, I get a comment from a kid named Max, 11 years old. I want to die. And I've been having these thoughts for a year now, and I don't know why. But I want to tell my parents, but I'm afraid to, because I'll see that look on their face where they will not be proud of me anymore. And I'm afraid that's the only thing I have to hang on to right now. And if I see that, I'm afraid it will trigger me. But I'm thinking, I want to tell my favorite teacher and ask her to tell my parents. And that's what he did. Because I was like, Max, that's a fabulous idea. Yes, definitely. I know. I thought that was pretty smart for an 11-year-old. Thank you so much. I'm getting the help I need. Wow. You may have saved my life. Those messages never get old. So why are we seeing so much depression, anxiety, suicide? Why is all that happening? And why is the opiate epidemic just taken off? It's not just pharmaceutical companies and overprescribing. We can talk about social media, we can talk about cell phones and the digital age. The truth is, once the digital age moved in, we're not as connected as we once were. We thought it would connect us more, and it's connected us less. Kids are getting 45% less face time than the generation before. Think about that playground time. People go out. When I would get ostracized from my play group outside and they wouldn't let me play dodgeball, guess what I had to do? I had to figure it out. I wasn't going to get a new batch of neighbors. I had to figure out how to get back in that friend group and so they would let me play dodgeball. Kids learn from that. They build resilience and they learn lessons from that. And they're not getting it like they used to, so when they're hit in high school with a loss, they don't know how to handle it because they haven't had the experience. So I'm going to tell you a story before I wind up here about my son Charles. And after he died, and I started the blog, a lot of kids, I'd say in the first year after he died, would come up and tell me stories. And this young lady called me and she says, there's something I want to tell you that Charles did that I'll never forget. And she said, I suffer from depression. And one day, I just couldn't force myself out of bed. She said, but I finally did. I was so proud of myself, and I went to school and put on the mask of a clown. I wasn't really happy, but I thought I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'm standing in the hallway with my friends. They're laughing and talking. They haven't even noticed that I'm depressed. I look up, and there's your son Charles staring straight at me. Now she said, everybody knew who Charles was, but I didn't know he knew me. And next thing I know, he makes a beeline towards me. He stops 1 foot in front of me, and he breaks out in a rap song that he made up just for me, right on the spot. She said my friends and I were stunned. And then we all started laughing. And at the end, he bent over and he hugged her. And he said, pretty girls shouldn't look so sad. And he walked down the hall. And she said, of all the moments, I will never forget that kindness. And she said, even on my worst days, that's what I remember. And it's often the one thing that keeps me going. You know, it's funny, and as talented as Charles was, that was his greatest gift, letting other people know that they matter. And you guys, that's something we can do starting today, because your most valuable currency is the ears you have attached to your head, and sitting down and connecting with somebody. When you get that feeling in your gut that somebody has said something that just isn't adding up, stop. Ask that person, would you like to talk? And you might have to ask the question, are you thinking of suicide? It works. It's a tough story to listen to today, but really appreciate that you have. And I want to thank